Hello everybody, my name is Joselaine, I'm from Brazil and I'm from Unesp, Paulista State University, campus in Rio Claro, São Paulo, Brazil. I'm a master's student in education in this university. The title of my paper is Brazilian Education Policy, a paradigm that strengthens the reproduction of capital. This presentation consists of 4 parts. The first part, I will talk brief about the methodology. The second part, I will talk about some Brazilian laws, the relationship between education and work, and finally I will talk about the work as an education principle of Gramsci. In the third part, I will talk about the results we obtain. And finally, the last part, some final consideration. Let's work. About the methodology, this work is the result of research still in progress. So the results that we have are initial. This is a qualitative approach guided by the biographical research and the document analysis. We will show how educational policy incorporates the needs of capital in the context of the Brazilian society and also as presenting the correct paradigm that carries out educational activities to incorporate as part of the qualification process. The Brazilian educational system inserted into the structure acquires characteristics of modern capitalist mode of production, of which education must meet training, providing young people occupy vacancies in these systems. There is a law here in Brazil, it called Law of Guidelines and Basis of National Education Brazilian, or LGB. It is a 1996 law. In the first article, paragraph second, content that appears of your training and school practice must be linked to labor market, so has a to be oriented social practice. The third article of the same law establishes 11 principles on which education should be guided. The 11 emphasizes that there should be linkage between schooling, work, and social practice. Already in Articles 27 sets out 5 guidelines for the curricula of basic education. The third says that the content must have work orientation. In Article 35, paragraph 2, it says the school aims to prepare students for work and citizenship, so that is able to adapt to new conditions of occupation or improvement. The LGB devotes a section exclusively for professional technical education medium level. Generally, this section will specify the general education of the student in order to prepare him for the performance of professional techniques. Professional education can be articulated concurrently with subsequent schools. So now you may ask, what does this represent? Thus, it is possible to detect a close relationship between the capitalist structure and the type of education offered by the government in order to align economy and education in support of the goals of productivity, pointing the interest of the capital in education and discussing the relationship between business and school to form a new work versatilely skilled and flexible, acquiring skills and competences in short time. In this context, the relationship between work and education is usually reduced to instrument function, from learning by doing, passing through the economic struggle between capital and labor. This conception of education predominates especially in the working class, which requires training process faster and faster in order to insert them into a productive life. About this, Gramsci denounces the class character of the school, revealing that there is a discrimination between the poorest and the fortunate. Thus, the vocational school for the works and the humanistic school for the elite. From this dualism, the author claims the right of the proletariat as access to culture and intellectual autonomy from the bourgeois, claiming that only through education, culture organization of knowledge and experience enable the complete independence of the masses towards intellectuals. Gramsci argues then a school he calls humanist and disinterested, at first identified as classical school. The author condemns a school where the future of the student are already predetermined, immediately interested in preparing a professional future. Gramsci rejects a school that seeks any immediately end and worries about the need to train works in the intellectual discipline, the civic and historical conscience. The author then proposed the initial school of generate culture, humanism, and formative. The humanistic school was based on an acute analysis of the technological instruction and practice of Marx. It is intended to prepare members omnilateral development that brings together a humanistic education and to work. The notion of omnilateral proposed by Gramsci understands the integral development of the human being in all directions, trying to overcome the division of the manual labor to intellectual training and a concrete historical process, from the field of scientific and a technological process of production process. From this perspective, the way to overcome this differentiation school to Gramsci would be the implementation of a school of general humanistic initial training to develop the ability to work both manual and in intellectual labor. Only after this initial training generally it would give entry to a specialized vocational school and labor market. Yet, after repeated experience of career guidance. From this perspective, the assumption of the humanistic school of Gramsci is to work as an education principle understood as a theoretical and a practical activity. Work is for Gramsci, as for Marx, the activity theoretical and practical, by which man transforms natural for him to perform with all its power, expansion, and productivity. It is necessary to have a realistic and accurate knowledge of natural laws and all the laws that regulate life and the relationship between men. It is noteworthy that the humanistic school does not mean simply providing the traditional school students some opportunity for manual labor. It is actually having working as a foundation, as a principle of the constitution of the school and education, and is designed in the reality that is both theoretical and practice. It is not a simple introduction manual activities in a school that already is traditional. That does not make this school a humanistic school. It is a theoretical concept and a different policy. In general, the humanistic school aims to train people capable of producing and that are also leaders, scientists, and politicians in this society. Therefore, it is necessary notion of natural science and the rights and duties of science, order that regulates social life. Thus, linking the Brazilian context with Gramsci theories, we propose some results. This paradigm prevailing in Brazil society favors market intervention in education, emphasizes the centrality of educational reforms to continue or improve the international competition, adapting the education system to the productive sector. In attempting to meet in increasingly complex economic game, it is necessary to draw up a new pedagogy for development of skill and necessary to meet the demands of the market. In other words, the inclusion of an ideology so alienating that the school can take care to teach what they will use guaranteed by inculcating knowledge associated with the notion of progress, where the legitimate knowledge is founded on experience and validated. Thus, the enserment of education permeates by the interest of the capital and the industrial park that is directly subject to economic reason and is designed as a great income booster, where the employee is conditioned to development skills required by the labor market, further strengthening the linking between educational and the production process in order to establish the market as a regulator of social relations. Finally, I would like to conclude this presentation by saying the following. It is necessary for society to identify alternative ways so that it becomes an opportunity for understand the work from another perspective, proposing a shift from mere practice for an activity that also combines intellectual aspects, favoring a more systematic, rigorous, critical, representing an increased cultural mass. The social structure can be changed in a long process of struggle and achievements with advances and setbacks. That was what I had to present to you. I present everyone's attention. Thank you very much.